Yo, FPL community, welcome to Proper Things, the FPL show brought to you by the TT FPL Pro-League, episode 12. So we're back after the international break. And before we get started, let me just say the boy bring out, you could clearly bring out the blue this week. I have the blue thread. Take a haircut to get the baby hairs going, because I feel like I get the bad eye now, the mild Jew. So all these things here is to negate that because my rankings just take a beating in the last 3 weeks. I was once the 6th round manager in the last 3 years. Now we've gone all the way down to 3,489. And it's only red arrows. So I'll ask Ezra to pop the screenshot here of the big drop now. But the only thing people love more than a downfall is a comeback now. And the comeback kid in full effect for this 4 blocks of fantasy before the next international break. I tried to get my smile back, trying to get my form back, because right now I was seeing it like a dot with my team just sliding down the standings. But regardless, the content must come out. Here on Proper Things, we dedicated to bringing the previews of all the games, the reviews of how things went. Of course, the Proper Things segment where we give you all those picks that you need for your fantasy teams. Update on the race for the 10K. Not looking too good in that right now myself. And of course, a hot take segment where we try to answer one of the burning questions you all have. So without further ado, let's kick things off on episode 12 with the review of Gameweek 8. So the first game in Gameweek 8 ended 1-0 to Tottenham, but the only winner there was really the Gandhis. It was a Gandhi game, Gandhi kickoff. Gandhi won that one clearly, as Bissouma took a red, forcing the Sun owners to hide behind their couches as he could only retain 3 points, a favourable captaincy pick for Game Week 8. And things just went downhill from there. For the fantasy week, Chelsea bounced back with a 4-1 win versus Burnley, A big performance again from Sterling, Jackson scoring there as well. Everton defeated Bournemouth to the tune of 3-0. A great performance there from the Toffees. Fulham defeated the Blades 3-1. Sheffield taking another L in that one. 2 Scott McTominay goals in the dire ends of the game to give Manchester United a much needed 2-1 win versus the Honeybees of Brentford. 0-0 was the score between the Eagles and Forest, as Crystal Palace couldn't find a winner down there. Liverpool dropped 2 points, but was a thrilling or cracking 2-2 with Brighton to kick off the Sunday morning. Salah just purging his non-owners there. Wow, great big performance there from Salah, getting some PTSD there from recalling that result. Newcastle and West Ham played an exciting 2-2 draw as well. Isaac lighting that one up. Wolves surprisingly held Aston Villa to a 1-1 draw. Watkins could only return an assist in that one after a big hat-trick. And the final game on Sunday was even more pain on my ends as the streak is over. It was like Brock Lesnar when he pinned The Undertaker all those years back, as Arsenal finally defeated my boys Manchester City 1-0 with a deflected Martinelli effort, beating Edison in goal. And the Arsenal fans had 2 weeks of glee there, talking about this is their year, this is their time, and all those nonsensical things they speak about during the season. So I have to say though, congrats to the Arsenal fans. It was a big win. So we move now to Game Week 9. So next up here we have the Goat Mouth segment, or the previews for this upcoming fixtures. And let's take a look at how I think the games will fall in Game Week 9. To kick things off on Sunday, Liverpool and Everton clash in the Merseyside Derby. I expect Liverpool to win this one to the tune of 3-1. And they have the Gandhi curse or the Gandhi kickoff or Gandhi rules for the early kickoff. But I have Liverpool bouncing back after the Tottenham defeat and then the 2-2 draw versus the Seagulls to get 3 points on the board in this fiery encounter. Next up is Bournemouth versus Wolves. Wolves historically have struggled to score, but this season They seem like a different team. They're playing exciting football. However, I have the Cherries holding them to a 1-1 draw in this one. So 1-1 Wolves Bournemouth. I have Brentford bouncing back versus Burnley to win 2-1. Manchester City, or my boys, finally get right with Rodri back and get 3 points on the board after losing 3 on the skid without the talismanic centre defensive mid. So a win there for City. Newcastle, 2-0 versus Crystal Palace. I expect Trippier to really stamp his authority in this one. Forest and Luton play out a 1-1 draw. Arsenal down Chelsea 2-0 in a London derby. I know this one is going to be a tight game, but I have Arsenal coming through late to win this one 2-0. United versus Sheffield. United scraped through this one 2-0. They will lead this goal game 1-0, and then a second late goal for them to clinch 3 points here. Aston Villa versus West Ham 1-1. And I have Spurs trouncing Fulham 3-0 on the Monday night kickoff. So those were your goat mouth predictions for the preview for Gameweek 8. And now with the reviews and the previews taken care of, we move now to the most anticipated segment in the show, the Proper Things segment, where we highlight the picks that should be in your team now and going forward, as these are the centerpieces to FPL. The needle movers for the aggressive players. These are the players you can take a shot on this upcoming week to rise your ranks quickly. Spilled milk are the players that have overstayed their welcome in your team and should be shipped out immediately as soon as possible. And finally, the wondering picks are the players you should keep a keen eye on to possibly bring into your team in the upcoming weeks. So again, we flash in the blue, to take the margin off. But to be honest, the picks have been delivering these last few weeks as we hit on the majority in Game Week 8. So let's kick things off in the Proper Things segment with the Proper Things category. Again, these are the picks that should be in your team right now and going forward as they are the centerpieces to FPL. And last week in the Proper Things defender pick, we had Crystal Palace defender Anderson. After a 15-point return versus Manchester United, I recommended that you bring this guy in and as a set and forget defender, and he returned immediately last game week with a clean sheet as Crystal Palace shut out their opponents, and Anderson returned a nice 6 points to all his owners. So this week in the Proper Things defender pick, we have a guy who is the second most expensive defender in the game right now, in Kieran Trippier, coming in at 6.9 mil. This is one of the premium players we have in the game right now. And also, Crystal Palace have not been defending set pieces or corners too well this season, and Trippier is a set and forget when it comes to whipping in the set pieces such as the corners and the free kicks. So I expect him to have a brilliant performance versus Crystal Palace this game week. And going forward, he is a premium asset, so it's not a 1 week pick here with Trippier. So Trippier is your Proper Things defender pick for Game Week 9. Next up in midfield, and the Proper Things midfielder pick, we had Son and Maddison last week. Well, we had a red card coming in for simulation from Bissouma. I don't know what the guy was thinking, and that changed the whole complexion of the game. And Spurs had a lot of chances in the first half. Richarlison guilty of missing, Poro guilty of missing, Son guilty of missing, but chances were more tougher to come by when they played with 10 guys. So Son could only return 3 points, or 6 for most owners, as they captained him in the early kickoff, and Maddison returned 6 points for the assist in the game winner to Mickey van der Veen. So not too bad there if you had Maddison. But this week is a surefire pick in midfield, as your Proper Things midfielder pick is the King, Mo Salah. No, not the most fancy or the most outrageous Proper Things midfielder pick, as he's the most expensive midfielder, but sometimes you just have to go with what you're seeing and what you know already. And Mo Salah right now is one of the hottest assets, if not the hottest asset in the entire game. He has the fixtures, he has the form, and it just looks like he will be causing carnage now and going forward. So, Mo Salah, your proper things midfielder pick for game week 9. And finally, in the forward position, last game week we had Ollie Watkins. He returned an assist in the 1-1 draw. And this week we have Ollie Watkins coming in at 8.2 million. Ollie Watkins is the premier, or the cream of the crop when it comes to the second tier of strikers for me. Meaning you have big Erling Haaland coming in at a whopping 14 mil. If you have Erling Haaland, you play Erling Haaland. You even captain Erling Haaland, but after him, it's a toss-up. And if you're looking for a second guy behind Erling, I think Ollie Watkins right now has to be in your team. Hat-trick game before, assist last game, and even scored in international duty in the first game for England. Aston Villa has a nice stretch of fixtures as well, as you see green beams. So Ollie Watkins has all the necessities to be the proper things forward pick going forward, and I recommend this pick 10 out of 10, or 5 stars as we say. So Ollie Watkins is your proper things forward pick for game week 9. Now we have the needle mover segment, which is for the aggressive players who are looking for those differentials to rise their rank immediately or ASAP. And last week in the needle mover defender pick, I recommended Pedro Porro. And while we did hit a single on this one, as he did return the clean sheet, if we remember the early kickoff last game week, Pedro Porro missed an early gilt-edged chance in the first half, which he should have put away. And after the red card to Bissouma, Tottenham's attacking threat, or Porro's attacking threat, somewhat diminished, and they had to play more defensively. Lucky to finally go through Mickey Van der Veen in the second half, but it could have been a greater haul for the Pedro Porro owners in game week 8. So as we look now to game week 9, the needle mover defender pick is again Pedro Porro. If it's right, you do it twice. We'll be looking to double the dosage here on Pedro Porro as he plays on Monday night versus Fulham. I did like what I saw versus Luton in game week 8. Again, he should have scored, and I expect a similar performance from Tottenham versus Fulham in a London derby on Monday night. So Pedro Porro is your needle movers defender pick for game week 9. Now we move on to midfield, and the needle mover midfielder pick for game week 8 was Diaby. Unfortunately, we swung and missed on this one, as it was not a great showing on the whole from Aston Villa as they were held a 1-1 draw. Diaby did have those injury concerns coming into the game week as he was flagged, but he did play as I thought he would, but he just couldn't deliver for his owners. So I missed there on that one. Now this game week in the midfielders needle mover category, I have 2 guys for you. First up is Morgan Gibbs-White. And now this is a guy who I expect to do some big things this upcoming game week. The underlying stats are there, and the fixture is there versus Luton. He's always at the centerfold for Nottingham Forest, and I do believe that Forest will be looking for a W in this one, as they don't want to be in a relegation scrap this season. Well, no one wants to be in a relegation scrap, but this is a key game for them and Luton. I expect this game to be end-to-end, and Morgan Gibbs-White to be the centerpiece of the action. So Morgan Gibbs-White is your needle mover midfielder pick for game week 9. But I also have to highlight Pedro Neto, or Neto as they call him. This game week coming in at 5.7 from Wolves. He is again one of the hottest assets right now form-wise in the entire game, and coming in at 5.7. He is the perfect enabler for Salah owners who want to play Salah, Haaland, and another premium, whether it be Son, or they want to play Trippier and Fernandes, or any of those combinations. And Neto right now is the guy in Wolves. They have been phenomenal this season. Great performance after great performance from them, and Neto seems to be moving from strength to strength. So I have to highlight Neto here. He's the perfect enabler again for the Salah owners. He has the fixture versus Bournemouth this week, and I expect him to have a great game. So Pedro Neto also highlighted here in the needle movers midfielder pick for game week 9. And finally, in the needle movers category, we look at the forward line. And in game week 8, I recommended Darwin Núñez, or Darwin Núñez, as they like to say, with the Scousers accent. I know mine's not that great. Darwin Núñez returned the assist in the 2-2 draw versus the Seagulls. You know, with Núñez, he's always around the action. It's whether he's going to put away the chances. You know, one of the most polarizing players in the entire FPL, and returned the assist again last week. And this week, I think it's only fitting that the needle movers forward pick is Rasmus Højlund, as this has been the guy who started the downfall. And you know, I could just laugh at this, and he has to be mentioned here because this is the end of the road here as we sing a new beginning. So he started the downfall. It's only fitting that he ends the downfall, but I do believe he's the perfect differential this week for those who have him and those who are looking to take a 1 week shot, as Højlund has not scored yet in the Premier League. He does play Sheffield this game week. You know, Manchester United scraped by in the last game, getting 2 lead goals from Scott McTominay to edge past Brentford. Not playing great football on the whole right now, but they do play the worst defense in the Premier League in Sheffield. And this is a game I expect them to win 2-0. I expect Højlund to be at the center of the action, and if you have him, and if you're looking for a 1 week striker punt, I think Højlund should be at the top of that list and should be on your radar. So Rasmus Højlund is your needle movers forward pick for game week 9. And I want to just flash again the blue here and the blue chip, because I am a Rasmus Højlund owner, so I need to get the bad eye off the boy now. I need him to get off the mark in the Premier League. So those were your needle mover picks for game week 9. Next up, we have the spilt milk category. This is the category where I highlight players that have passed their due date in your team and should be moved on ASAP, because they are funky picks. Last week in the spilt milk defender category, I recommended Ruben Diaz as a Ruben Diaz owner in game week 7. I knew it was time to move on from the Manchester City stopper, as City have just been conceding goals without Rodri, and going forward, I don't really think he's worth the price tag, coming in at a whopping 5.5 mil. And Diaz returned the customary 2 points last game week as he fell 1-0 to Arsenal. So Diaz was spilt milk defender pick for game week 8. And this week, I have another one of my players, not a defender but a goalkeeper, in Onana, coming in at 4.9 mil from Manchester United. If you have watched the Premier League in the last few weeks, and more precisely if you have watched Manchester United, you have been wishing that you recall David De Gea if you're a Manchester United fan, or if you're like me, a Manchester City fan, you're saying, "Wait, boy, this is supposed to be the super keeper everyone was talking about." You know, Nana has proven to be prone to a lot of errors, letting in goals at a clip that does not excite his owners, including myself. Manchester United have not been playing great football going forward, and with some tougher fixtures on the horizon and injuries piling up, as Martinez or the Butcher, Shaw, Darlow have all been on the table right now, I don't think it's getting better in defense for the Red Devils. So if you have Onana, he may have, well, he has overstayed his welcome. May not be able to move him on this week, but definitely has to be moved on ASAP if you can. So Onana is your spilt milk defender pick for game week 9. Last week in the midfielders spilt milk category, I highlighted Mbeumo, who was the toast of the tongue in the first 4 game weeks, and as we gone from hero to zero in the last 4 game weeks. He returned a paltry 2 points again last game week. I don't know if he's playing what now, the right wing back, or what he's playing in Thomas Frank's new system, but he's obviously not the Mbeumo we all love in the first 4 game weeks. So Mbeumo was spilt milk midfielder pick last week, and this week, I know it's not customary to spilt milk a guy who had an excellent performance the week before, but Raheem Sterling is your spilt milk midfielder pick for game week 9, as Raheem the Dream Sterling, or the Snake, according to which side you fall on the argument when it comes to Raheem, has to be my spilt milk midfielder pick, as Chelsea's schedule is absolutely nasty. They play all the top teams or all the attacking threats minus Liverpool in the next 6 to 8 game weeks. You know, they have Arsenal this game week, and Newcastle, City, United, everyone is coming to town, or they have to play in the next few game weeks. So Raheem Sterling, the definition of a flat track bully, as all his returns have come versus Burnley and versus Luton. Chelsea do not have any of those teams in the schedule coming anytime soon. So Raheem Sterling, if you have him in your team, you may not be able to get rid of him this game week. You want to see what he does against the Gunners, but he should be shipped out immediately, as there are a lot of better options in midfield currently. So Raheem Sterling is your spilled milk midfielder pick for game week 9. And finally, in the forward line, last game week we recommended Anaomi in the spilled milk forward pick. When Anaomi was flagged last game week, that flag now has stood red as he's out until November. So definitely have to move on from him. And this week's spilled milk forward pick is Mikel Antonio. Antonio for me has not passed the eye test, and if you are Antonio owner, you definitely need to get him out of your team ASAP, because his underlying stats are not welcoming at all. And I believe there are better options in the striking position, such as Julian Alvarez. You want to take the 1 week punt in the needle mover Hoyland this week, or the proper things forward pick Watkins if you do have that extra budget lying around. So if you are an Antonio owner, you're definitely looking to move on from him this game week, because it's looking funky there with the West Ham hitman. So those were your spilled milk picks for game week 9. And finally, in the proper things segment, we close things off with the woundering picks category. These are the picks you should keep a keen eye on this upcoming game week to possibly bring into your fantasy team in the upcoming game weeks. And last game week, in the wondering defenders pick position, I recommended you keep an eye on Trent Alexander-Arnold. He was flagged during the week. There was a late test to see if he would play versus Brentford. The boy came through, played, but Liverpool did concede 2 goals in a feisty game with the Seagulls. Trent returned 1 point. At the price point right now, it's definitely going to be a difficult proposition to get Trent into your team. So maybe you can, maybe you can't. But you all know Trent is a special talent in the defending position. And this game week, we have Trent's new partner in defense, as for every injury, opportunity arises. And opportunity has arisen for Costas Tsimikas, coming in at 4.4 million for at least the next couple or 3 game weeks, as Andy Robertson unfortunately got injured in the internationals for Scotland, and he's set to miss a couple games here. And Tsimikas is set to deputize for Robos, and coming in at 4.4 if you're wildcarding after the international break and have an available Liverpool spot. This might be a nice pick to enable other players, as the 4.4 budget is a budget friendly pick. One thing about Tsimikas is we all know the boy has whippage and he delivers the ball into the box, but Liverpool fans and people who watch Tsimikas will say that he has defensive deficiencies, as he's not the best defensive minded fullback. So, and we all know Liverpool are always conceding the odd goals in their wins, as they were the 3-1 masters before the Tottenham and the 2-2 draw versus the Seagulls. So Tsimikas definitely want to keep an eye on this game week, and is your wondering defender pick for game week 9. Next in midfield, we had Ansu Fati as the wondering pick, as the wondering midfielder pick for game week 8. He returned 1 point for Brighton. Again, it wasn't the easiest fixture. He was on a little hot run of form, scoring goals, but Liverpool kept him in check, and he could only return you 1 point. In this game week, I have to recommend Gabriel Martinelli as the wondering pick for game week 9. He was the game winner in the 1-0 win versus my team, Manchester City, last game week. He's coming off an injury and was only a second half substitution in the last game week, but he looked sharp and he's looking set for this round of fixtures here for the Gunners. So I believe I need to see one more week from him, as he do play Chelsea this week in a hotly contested London derby. So this will be a nice opportunity to scout the boy further and see if he's all the way returned from his injury, and possibly make a move in game week 10 for the Brazilian winger. So Gabriel Martinelli is your wondering midfielder pick for game week 9. And finally, in the forward position, last game week, I had a budget forward in Lyle Foster from Burnley. He did score in the double, as he was only able to play one game due to his suspension. And last game week, he returned an assist for Burnley in their lone goal, although they ended up getting a beating from Chelsea to the tune of 4-1. Foster again looked sharp, and he was again at the heart of the points for Burnley. So a nice differential budget forward pick for those who are interested in that kind of player. And this week, I have a guy who I want to keep an eye on. Will not be bringing him this week, as they do play Liverpool in the Merseyside derby, but DCL is your wondering forward pick for game week 9. Seems to be one of those players that needed some time away from the football with the injuries, and he's turning back now to the DCL of 2 seasons ago, where he was putting goals in at a decent clip. Again, I need to see one more week, and this is the perfect encounter to scout DCL, as the Merseyside derby, it doesn't come much tougher than that for Everton in the Premier League. It's going to be the early kickoff, so definitely going to be watching this game and watching DCL very keenly. So DCL is your wondering pick for game week 9. And that brings us to the end of the Proper Things segment for this episode. Again, I'm wearing the blue to keep the bad eye off the Maljo and all that. And I want to thank all the viewers for watching, and don't forget, if you disagree with the pick, if you agree, or if you have other recommendation, to go down in the comment section and leave some replies, to like the video, to subscribe, because we pumping out the content week after week for you all. Again, I'm not doing too good right now, and I don't want anyone to say not to kick the boy because he down, and I want you kick me, and kick my heart too, because when you see the comeback on, I'll be back here saying, you see, I told you guys that class players will find a way back to the top now. So, looking for those replies and looking for the banter down in the comment section. And again, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Now moving to the hot take segment. This is where I try to answer one of the burning questions one of the viewers have, and we have a discussion and try to figure it out. And this week's question comes in from my little cuz, but right now I have to call him my big cuz, as he's been giving me the work this season in the FPL. So shout out to Nick. And his question is stacking beneficial? And when he is referring to stacking, he means having 2 players or 2 assets from the same team in the same position. For example, if you have Rashford and Bruno in midfield from Manchester United, or Son and Maddison from Tottenham Hotspurs, or even Haaland and Alvarez in attack from Manchester City, or now even Saka and Martinelli or Odegaard from Arsenal. My answer to this question is, you have to not think of stacking as an Arsenal or as a team thing, such as Arsenal, Manchester United, or Manchester City. You have to think about the assets on their merits individually, if they are good players, if they are in form, and if they are playing well, and who they are playing. So you have to take the assets, as you would say, in isolation or individually. So when thinking about stacking, I do believe it's more beneficial than a hindrance, but you have to stack intelligently, such as I would not have stacked Bruno and Rashford last game week if I were on wildcard, but I would have stacked Maddison and Son, as both of them have been playing well. They have the fixtures that game week and going forward. So I do believe stacking is beneficial, but again, you have to stack intelligently and you have to look at not only the fixtures this week, but going forward, as you don't want to have two players from the same team this game week and then their schedule turns bad and you want to get off one of those players ASAP. So I hope that I helped with your question, little cuz this week, or big cuz I should call you now, and thanks to Nick for presenting the question, and good luck in the rest of the season. And finally, we have arrived at the segment that brings the most banter, the most talks, the most engagement in one of the most rowdiest group chats I've ever been a part of. It's the race for the 10K. Here on the race for the 10K, we update the TT FPL Pro-League standings. And right now in the group chat, I can't even make a note right now because I can't see my way in the game or in the league right now. But let's see who the leaders are coming out of the international break on game week 8. And Brandon Will has retained his lead at the top of the charts with an impressive 525 cumulative points over the season so far and a 66 point game week 8 return from Brandon. And let's see what Brandon Will did in game week 8. Wow, we could see Brandon used his free hit here to negate the Salah effect, and it worked. He did return 66 points with Trippier, Cash, Odoji in the back, Son, Maddison, Salah, Odegaard. A nice pick up in Isaac there for the 13-point return. Watkins and Alvarez. He took a shot here by having no Erling Haaland in his team, and it paid off. So a nice free hit here from Brandon, resulting in a 66-point game week and helping him retain his lead atop the TT FPL Pro-League. In second place, we have Andre Roberts Ewick with an impressive 79 points this game week. Last game week, 523 points overall. A quick look at Ewick, showing that he played his wildcard, a nice wildcard. Captain Salah returned 30. He had Johnson in goal, Anderson, Soufal and Udoji, Neto, Maddison, Son, Bowen, and again Salah captain in midfield, with Erling and Watkins leading the line. So a nice 79-point return there from Ewick. 523 points overall for second place. In third, the Dr. Kapil Ramcharan, Dr. Phil Foden, 511 points, a 55-point game week return. Rounds out the top three. So congrats again to Brandon, Andre, and Kapil on your performances so far. To round out the top 5, Lion King by Simbala Fortune and Nova Turent by Jeff Ramdas round out the top 5 with 510 and 509 points respectively. Anthony, exclamation marks, Medas Touch, Trent Poole, Game of Stones, and Gaza Chubbs round out the top 10. Ezra running the Gaza Chubbs, 49 points this week and 495 points on the season. So those are your top 10. Looking further down the table, you see Mark My Words, Pelican Bay by my cousin Nick, who I mentioned earlier in the video. They're in 12th. And coming down, you see White Rice Party in 18th. Red Explosion in 32nd there. Just scrolling. We had to scroll a while before we find me. And I just had a flash. The blue here as I opening my team to just show you all the catastrophic madness that's going on right now in the Legacy 10X. It's just been red arrows for the last 3 games, and we could clearly see why. Onana, Trippier, Cash, Udoji, Foden, Son, Mbeumo, Maddison, Rashford, Haaland and Højlund. And ladies and gents, I took a -8 last week. We got rid of 3 deadwood, and I still made more points with the -8 than if I had kept the deadwood in. So I used to tell you how bad it was. It was Diaz, Saka, and Estupinian making way last week. All of those 3 guys returned 2 points. Of course, Saka was hurt and didn't play, and Estupinian as well. But there's not good showing right now for the Legacy 10X. But again, I tell you all, I have the blue, the new haircut, and we're looking to make a big comeback in the next 4 game weeks now. So right now we're in 64th. Just saying that making me sick. The worst performance in the history of my FPL career so far. Not too far off the bottom now, as we could see the bottom now. We have Falls 9 FC, Javon Simmons, Sean Paddy, Chopper, Universal Boss, Young Toes, Chapo making a move up the table a little bit there. Love that for Chapo. Trinidad, I'm back by Jason KLS, Carrot FC, Gaza City, and more source rounding out the bottom there. So we're not too far off the bottom now in Legacy 10X struggling, but that was your update there for the race for the 10K. And shout out to the manager of the month for September 2023. It was the creator of the TT FPL Pro-League, Ezra Ramdeen. You know, a big month from the boy. As you could remember, in August he wasn't seen his way at all, was 81st position. Now he's rebounded now to the top 10. You know, a brilliant wildcard, played some nice picks, and a dramatic turnaround there from the Gaza Chops and from Ezra Ramdeen. So congrats there to the manager of the month, September, Ezra Ramdeen. I'm sure he's going to be on the show very, very soon to talk about how he made this miraculous comeback, and he will definitely have to give me personally some tips on how to turn things around ASAP. So congratulations to Ezra Ramdeen again on his Manager of the Month award for the month of September 2023. So that brings us to the end of episode 12 of Proper Things. Had a great time delivering the episode this week. Want to thank everyone for viewing, and don't forget to go down in the comment section and leave your replies, whether it be good, bad, if you think I could turn things around, or if I'm getting too long in the tooth. Also, I see some people already saying that the fantasy game passed my by now, and I'm no longer at the top level of the FPL after my latest performances. So, you know, I always welcome the replies. I appreciate every reply too. Don't forget to like the video and to give us a subscribe, because we have more fire content coming out each week for you. So thanks again for all the support, and don't forget to do proper things in all walks of life.